We are recording.
Alrighty. Let's see, and we are at 6:32, so time to get the party started as people join us. Thank you for all turning out to our club officer training, leading the club to success. Now, a couple of things to start off with. We are going to be dropping a link in the chat at the end, a survey link. We would like you to give your feedback. Click on the link, give your feedback on the training. That helps us improve the training and tweak it if we need it, emphasize things more or less per your feedback. So your feedback is very important and it only takes a couple of minutes. We're going to have, before that, we're going to have Tina and possibly Linda with district news for us. We would like you to be visible because it gives a more sense of a meeting and feedback for the speaker. It's always more difficult to speak to a bunch of boxes with names. So if you feel comfortable, we would ask you to start the video. And on the other hand, to mute during the presentation unless the presenter is asking for your feedback. Now, he may be asking for feedback. The plan is feedback in the chat. And so I would ask Tommy to keep track on that. And if he needs feedback from the chat, we'll let Joe go with that. And if you haven't yet, be sure to rename yourself so we know who you are by name and by face. I know plenty of you, but there's some that I don't know.
Bob, we have one first name, and the district will need your first and last name to be sure you get credit for tonight.
Yes, that is an important thing. For getting credit, we need first and last name. Thank you, Tommy. That is good to remember because there are multiple people with the same first name. I'm Bob. So, oh, and I need to rename myself to have my name in there, not just as B director. And I know there are plenty of Bobs around, and so that happens.
Okay,
So,
I'm having trouble. I'm not used to Zoom. And so I don't mind my picture being in there, but I don't know how to go back and get it. So.
oh, okay. So you have an icon up? Oh, yes. Okay.
So do I just go back? Exit?
Yeah, and you should be able to go on the bottom left-hand side on the video.
You can just start your video.
Yeah.
At the bottom next to mute, it says start
There we
video.
are. Okay, we got it.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay. I was looking for a photograph, not a video.
Yeah. It is not totally intuitive, kind of like the TI website.
Okay, thank you for your help.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And now on to our presentation. We are blessed with a past district winner in the international speech contest. I forget the year. Joseph Carty has been Toastmaster since 2011. He joined Toastmasters to become a better impromptu speaker. Through dedication and commitment, he became a multiple times District 2 impromptu speaking champion, District 2 2018, that was the year, 2018 International Speech Champion, and Toastmasters International Speech semifinalist. Today, he's a member of 2 clubs in District 2, where he continues to improve his public speaking skills. And he is a speaker, trainer, and coach with the John Maxwell team. Today, he's going to lead us through leading the club to success. Let's all welcome Joe Carty.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Can I go ahead and share my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Great. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight for executing the role of club president. I really want to start off with a story that emphasizes the importance of leadership. And that's primarily what the role of club president is. So this story.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we are supposed to be doing the club success, leading the club to success. Do you have the wrong slides up?
I think I may have the wrong slide.
Sorry. Joe did the club president for us at the TLI. That's probably why he had that ready to go.
Yeah, it is ready to go. Okay, do we have the club, the other presentation?
Oh, you'll probably have to stop sharing and then switch slides.
Okay, so I don't have the other deck, so someone could send me the other deck.
1 second.
Okay.
This will take me just a minute.
Sure, no problem.
Oops. Second. So Joseph, I'm going to drop it into the chat for you.
Okay, sounds good. I'm looking
Give me
up.
1 second here. Hopefully this sends. Let me know if you got it. Did you get it, Joseph?
Oh, sorry, I stuck it on mute. I'm downloading it right now. Give me a second.
Okay, perfect. Sorry for the delay, folks.
It's loading. Give me a second. I'm not sure why it's taking so long.
Technology. Technology is great when it works. When it's slow,
If you can't get it to work, I'm also if you can't get it to download, you can go to the link that I just put in there and download it straight from TI, the Leading the Club to Success.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Okay. Okay. All right, here we go. So Leading the Club to Success, Club Officer Training. So my story still applies. Even though we're talking about the role of president, we're going to be talking about leading the club to success. And before we jump into the details, I want to share that story. So this is all about Navy SEAL training, and we've all heard about Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs are the elite when it comes to the military, the American military. And you know, there's something called Hell Week, where they go through a grueling series of trials. Now, in this one scenario, or this one situation, there are teams, let's call them teams A through F, and they're all competing over the course of the week. And team A just always seems to be finishing either first or second whenever in all the competitions, while team F always seems to be battling for fifth or last place. And the leader for team F is always complaining. He's like, you know, he's blaming the members of his team for the team's failures and struggles. And the trainer is trying to get into his mind that, hey, no, you can't, you know, it's all about leadership. You as a leader have to lead the way. You have to set an example. You have to be the guide. You have to lift your team up. But, you know, he insists on blaming his team, not taking any responsibility for himself. So the trainer decide, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to switch leaders. The leader for team A is going to go take over team F, and you, the leader for team F, you're going to take over team A. So they make the switch, and then guess what happens? Well, all of a sudden now team F is competing for first and second. And because the members of team A, they were already good, they were already motivated by the prior leader, they're also competing for first and second. So the whole point of that is leadership makes a difference. And as we're talking today about leading the club through success, as club officers, your leadership for your clubs makes a significant difference. It's going to make a difference in terms of the number of members, the number of guests who become members. It's going to make a difference in terms of the number of members who stay members, right? And it's going to make a difference in terms of the members who are motivated to take over responsibility and lead the club to not just success for one season, but continued success beyond your own tenure. Okay, so with that, let's jump right into training. Oh, I want to say, as we're going through the training, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I have Bob and Tommy who are consistently monitoring the chat, and as we go through, if we get to a point where, we'll get to a point where we'll kind of open it up for Q&A, and at that time, you are welcome to ask questions. At the same time, I'll also, if I have kind of impromptu Q&A section, I'll open it up for questions at that point as well. Okay, with that, let's jump ahead. So our agenda is pretty basic, right? We're going to talk about leadership, and we're going to talk about the club success plan. It's all the key tonight is we're going to cover about 4 different objectives. and it's all broken down right here. So again, very simple. We're going to cover 5 principles of motivation, and motivation is important. I'll share more at that time. Applying the Toastmasters hierarchy. List on the 5 steps of delegation. Delegation is going to be huge for time saving. And then naming 4 steps of successful coaching. And that's one of the beautiful things about Toastmasters overall. We do have opportunity to reach out to our district leaders for coaching support. Okay, let's jump ahead. Additionally, we'll cover SMART. So SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And then we'll dive into the developing a club success plan. I love the idea of, so if you've ever read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, he talks about starting with the end in mind. And that's what really a club success plan is all about, beginning with the end in mind and working from there. Okay, so with those objectives, let's talk about leadership. I've shared one example of leadership, and I'll share a little bit more later, but let's talk more about the benefits. So when we think about Toastmasters, when we think about the club officer role, right? Each role is critical, but I'll say it differently. We take on these club officer roles, but they provide multiple benefits, right? A lot of us join Toastmasters to become better communicators, but Toastmasters also provides opportunity for us to become better leaders as well, or develop our leadership skill. So if, for example, I work at Boeing, a lot of the Toastmasters in my clubs, they work at Boeing as well. Well, some of us are able to step into these club leadership roles that provide us great practical experience for working with people, right? Toastmasters is an environment where we work with volunteers or voluntary leaders, or the officers in their clubs are volunteers or volunteer leaders. And working with a volunteer leader is a lot more, I'll say, a lot more sensitive, or requires a lot more charisma than working with someone who is paid to work with you. Like that is my own experience. So Toastmasters provide great practical experience for leading people, and on top of that, leading people in a volunteer environment, which is more challenging. Leadership skill development, that goes up without saying. So one, you get an opportunity as not only president, but also members of the executive committee to practice your leadership skill in terms of communicating, dealing with conflicts that arise within the club, within the committee. Soliciting support. Sometimes as leaders, you have to not only come up with your message or come up with your vision, you also have to go out and solicit support for that message to make sure that everybody's on board. There's personal and professional opportunities. I was in a meeting yesterday with my Boeing club officer, or my Boeing club, and we invited people from SAP, which is an outside organization, as well as TransUnion, to attend our virtual meeting. So that right there is a great opportunity to network with people, not only inside your company, if you're a corporate club, but outside of your company as well, so you start to expand your network. Because you never know when you have to reach outside and reach outside for other professional experiences or professional opportunities. Building the club legacy. I think this one is huge. My Boeing Helicopters Club, over 50 years, right? Over 50 years in existence, right? And we have many clubs in Washington State that have been around for decades. And we want to continue to help those clubs thrive and grow so they can continue to build on that club legacy. In fact, Tommy, can you kind of share how long have Port Garden Bay Gabbers been around? Do you remember?
I believe we've been around for about 19 years.
19 years. Okay, so that's one of my clubs in Everett. 19 years, so almost 20 years. So we're going to be celebrating that next year. And I believe right now none of the founding members of our club are still with our club. right? They've all retired and gone on to different things and joined other clubs, but we continue to build on our club legacy through good leadership. People like Tommy and Lon, where I believe online. Okay. All right. Tools for successful leaders. Now, leadership is not necessarily all about pulling only on experience, right? It's all about utilizing tools that are out there to help bolster your club or raise your club up. And first and foremost, it's about motivating team members. The roles that we execute in our club, whether we are club officers, right, or committee leaders, they're not always easy because they do sometimes, well, all the time, they require us engaging people. And when you engage people, there's always conflict. So a lot of times we need to be lifted up, and that's where motivation really comes into play. And I mentioned earlier, us, a lot of times we're volunteers, and as volunteers, we, our team members can actually walk away. So it's important that we lift each other up and motivate each other. And there are a number of ways we can do that, right? There are other leaders in our district that we can turn to for advice to help with motivation, to kind of remind us why we're in Toastmasters and why we're pursuing leadership as a part of that. I know I'll just pick on Tina, for example. Tina, will you share one example where you had to be motivated by one of your peers, one of your leadership peers in the district?
Oh, well, as a trio member, and I see Linda Forthman just jumped on, but the trio, actually, we motivate each other. We have to work side by side and make sure that, if somebody can't get something done, that the other one is like, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? So we work as a partnership and lift each other up. Really, that's the only way that this works, is to be able to lean on each other and be motivated by each other and what we're doing and able to accomplish. I hope that was a good example.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for that, Tina. Yeah, and Tina also touched on the second bullet, which is delegating tasks, right? No one person can do everything. And in fact, sometimes no one executive team can do everything. And that's why we form committees to kind of take on different challenges and spread not only the workload, but spread the opportunity, because it's not just members of the executive team who are wanting to improve their leadership skill or wanting to practice leadership. Sometimes just your general body members, they also want to practice leadership. So committees are a great way to delegate tasks, important tasks, to other members of your club, as well as, as an executive team, definitely want to spread the load and delegate tasks to each other. And I'll give you an example. Membership campaigns are a big thing, and we all know that the VP membership is kind of that person who's looked to, that person who we look to lead these types of events. Well, sometimes these membership campaigns can take on a life of their own and become pretty significant in terms of their size and workload. And so that's a great opportunity for the VP membership to say, okay, who in our club, apart from me as VP membership, are willing to step up and help with this membership campaign and take on some significant responsibilities so we can increase our membership, so we can execute an effective campaign and increase our membership. Right? So that's an example. And I see there's one thing in the chat. Okay. Another one, coaching team members. As team members are transitioning out, it's important that we coach the incoming team members. So for example, immediate past president coaches the new president on the roles of president. And I'm going to pick on Tina again to kind of talk about the approach that they take with the trio, for example, as they're transitioning from district director and the different roles to the new group or the new class. Tina, can you kind of share an example there of coaching team members?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I see coaching in two different forms. So there's the incoming coaching, so new people or mentoring more so, which Heather did with me. She was the outgoing program quality director, and I was the incoming program quality director. And so she kind of had to coach me and mentor me on what things I need to accomplish and how I can best accomplish those. And she had a lot of tools in place that I could use to make my job easier. And then coaching also can be if there's any issues, not that I've had any issues that I'm aware of. I haven't had to have any coaching by Heather, but in my professional life, I do have to coach my employees from time to time. If I see things that they could maybe do better or maybe achieve more goals, if they have their own goals, I can coach them in how they can achieve those goals and better get more out of what they're doing. So that's kind of two different ways.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that, Tina. Another good example. And that kind of leads into the next bullet, which is setting realistic and attainable goals. In fact, this is one of those places where coaching can be a huge benefit, right? The prior executive team kind of coaching the new team and helping them set up realistic goals for their club. I want to spend a little bit more time on this. Again, kind of going back to one of the things I said earlier, with starting with the end in mind. And that's where goals can become a big deal. So if your goal is to increase your membership by 20%, and I'm just going to give some examples, increase your membership by 20%, retain or improve your pathway completion rate for all your club members, again, by another 20-25%. So these are just examples of goals that can be set. The whole idea is if you set the goal, then you work backwards and say, okay, what are some of the things that we can do to reach those goals? And this is where SMART comes into play. I think there's a slide, there should be a slide that kind of dives into more details on SMART. So I'll save my explanation of SMART for later. Okay. Okay. So diving a little bit more into the 5 principles of motivation. And I'm going to say that these can be challenging, right? And I'm going to start with the first one, understanding what motivates each person. These can be challenging because it takes having conversations, right, outside of the club sometimes, whether it be one-on-one conversation or one-to-group conversation, because these conversations are important for you to start to understand your team members, just kind of understand how they're motivated. One of the things I do outside of Toastmasters, for a business that I have, whenever we have new team members, we kind of sit them down and ask them, are you the type of person who like to kick in the butt or pat on the shoulder whenever you need motivation, right? It's kind of something along those lines where you sit down with your team members and you ask them, maybe you just go around the table and ask them, how are you motivated? What are some things people have done in the past to help motivate you? For some people, it can be a very easy conversation. For some people, it may be a little bit more challenging because they can't really think of ways that they've been motivated. Focus on the benefit to the individual. This one, I think this one could be easy, but it can also be challenging. And this is where coaching again comes into play, because coaching can help you dive deeper. But when we step into the role of club officers, I touched on this a little bit earlier, there are some correlation between our officer roles and our roles outside of Toastmasters in our professional environments. And a lot of times that's where the benefit lies that we need to point out for our officers, right? For example, being an officer, again, provides you an opportunity to lead people through conflict, lead people through change. And that's something that's a lot of times is very applicable, especially change. It's very applicable in our professional environment. A lot of us right now in a professional environment, we are going from in-person work to virtual work. And guess what? In Toastmasters, that's exactly what we're doing. We're going from in-person work to virtual work. So again, a great opportunity to just kind of use the environment to point out some of the benefits and grow from there. Make expectations clear. And we're in a communication environment, and this is a tough one because sometimes we assume that expectations are clearly understood, and unfortunately we fall victim to the illusion of clear communication or effective communication. So sometimes the best thing to do is write out the expectations of the club officers and literally have them explain what they mean when we talk about these expectations. Maybe I'll pick on Bob for this one. Bob, when you kind of think about your clubs, right? Do you kind of talk about some expectation challenges or even some expectation successes in terms of making expectations clear?
Well, I think sometimes we can have the expectation that, well, like signing up for roles. Is it picking teeth, pulling teeth, or is it something that people are eager to do? And I think one thing that I've been realizing lately is I think there needs to be an emphasis and a asking of, okay, what is your motivation on signing up? Are you motivated? Are you one who hangs back? Sometimes people will hang back and go, well, I'll fill in what is needed, versus signing up ahead of time. I'm always one who's like, yeah, I'll sign myself up for roles down the line, and not everybody else has that same expectation. One thing that I've been on since I started off was signing up for a speech every 4 to 5 weeks. That's what my mentor said, and I got that practice. And not everybody is like that, and that's okay. We have to remember that our expectations can be different. And I think that's one of the tough lessons about expectations. And as officers, we have to make expectations of, yeah, be there, contribute, and be sensitive to people's different approach, like table topics. Not everybody's going to jump in right off the way. And I didn't at first. So managing our own expectations versus somebody else's expectations is another important part of that.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Bob. Okay, next up is recognizing members. I think this is the biggest part of motivation, right? We do, and if your club doesn't celebrate or recognize members very often, you need to change that. There's nothing better for anybody, I would say, than getting some kudos for the things that they do, just kind of celebrating successes. I mean, it's for me in Port Gardner Gamers, it was one of the things I looked forward to, right? We celebrate whenever we achieve any milestones, like going back in the days, competent communicator, competent leader. Today's pathway is kind of hitting these different levels. But we also celebrate, winners of our table topics contest, winners of our speech contest. And these are our club level stuff that we do every meeting. Right? So we celebrate when people step out for the first time and complete table topics, right? Or do their icebreaker. We try to celebrate as many times as we can, because that's where you create that mutually supportive and motivating environment that lifts everybody up. So if your club is not one that celebrates very often, maybe you need to change that, because like it says on here, it is one of the 5 principles that helps to really motivate not just members of your executive team, but also members of your club in general. And the fifth one on here is be a leader. And when it says be a leader, I say for me, this is about first motivating yourself, right? Motivating yourself because you kind of lead by example, where if you're a motivated person and you're leading by example, others would see that and start to follow. We start to follow, and that just happens. You know, one of the things so John Maxwell talks about the law of the picture. People do what they see, not what you say. So if you want people to be motivated, well, you have to lead the way. You have to be that motivator. You have to be self-motivated and be that motivator as well. Okay. All right, moving on. But before I move on, any questions? I've been doing a lot of talking. Tina and Bob jumped in, but I'll just open it up. Any questions for any of our attendees? Okay. All right. So as we go forward, if any questions come up, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Okay. And when we get to another Q&A section, I'll answer the questions or solicit help to answer the questions. All right. Let's talk about the hierarchy of needs. So this one, I'm going to be honest, this one is very new to me. I have not studied the Toastmasters hierarchy of needs very much. I'm going to almost kind of read the slides on this one. Okay. Betty, did you want to say something?
No, I was clearing my throat.
All right, no worries. Okay, so just kind of looking at this, right? It seems like Well, I'll just start at the bottom. Overcoming the fear of public speaking. That's kind of that basic need. That's why most people join Toastmasters, to become a better communicator, to overcome those jitters where when they get up in front of their team to speak, you know, it's just like their mind just sits down. A lot of times, even within our Toastmasters meeting, when people get up to give their first table topic speech or their first scheduled speech, there's just a lot of nerves, right? A lot of nerves. And Toastmasters kind of helps satisfy that basic need, but the more you come, the more you participate, you start to address that. And then from a safety perspective, that's our mission, right? Creating a safe and mutually supportive environment in which people feel comfortable enough to open up, take risks, and grow. From a social perspective, it needs to relating to other people. Again, going back to one of the things we talked about earlier, Toastmasters is a place where you get to network with people. If you're a corporate club, you network with people inside your club. And then when you go out and you meet with the rest of the clubs in the district, you get to network with other people outside your district, outside your club. Now, in this virtual environment, we get to network with people around the globe, okay? And now you guys are Pacific time, I'm Eastern, right? And here we are still having a conversation. So this is just an example of being able to not only relate to other members, but also get to meet new people. We talked earlier about the importance of recognition, and that touches on the next item, which is esteem, the need to be acknowledged. So definitely recognizing club members for all these different achievements, because every little recognition kind of builds on itself, where you lift somebody up a little bit, and another recognition lifts them up a little bit more. So it's kind of it compounds. That's why, you know, it's important. And that's why it's kind of that fourth level on this hierarchy of needs. And the final one being self-actualization. You need to realize your potential. I'll just share my example here, where, you know, it's true Toastmasters and consistently speaking and delivering, whether in club or in contest, just consistently speaking made me realize that, you know, I enjoy public speaking. And that led me to eventually saying, okay, maybe I want to become part of John Maxwell team and and start to train to becoming a speaker, trainer, and coach, right? So that's what the realization that you can, or you overcome your fear, but at the same time, you realize your potential more than just, more than just going in to be a better communicator. Maybe you could be so much more. Again, picking on Tina, right? Now becoming part of the trio and leading a district, right? We're talking about leading thousands of people to achieve going from the basic all the way up to self-actualization goals through Toastmasters. So another good example there. All right. Delegation, we touched on this earlier, and the importance of it. There's an acronym that says SYSTEM. SYSTEM stands for Save Yourself Time, Energy, and Money. And one of the most effective systems that you can have is delegation, where you figure out, okay, I need to delegate responsibility to other members. It's very simple, the steps, right? Decide what to delegate, decide who to delegate to, assign a responsibility, you give them the authority, and then you establish how do you hold them accountable. The steps are simple, but execution of the process can be sometimes very challenging because we are dealing with people. And when I'll give you an example of what I mean when I say it's challenging. You can know what to delegate, and you can know who you can delegate it to, and you could go ahead and assign that responsibility. But number 5, holding them accountable, or them holding themselves accountable and keeping their commitments can be very challenging, right? And again, being that we operate in a volunteer environment, you somehow have to motivate them, encourage them to keep their commitments, while at the same time keeping them happy enough not to walk away. Right? So it's kind of that balancing act that you have to do when you think about delegation. And let's see if I can take on anyone. I was looking for Tommy. Is he still on?
I'm here.
Okay, Tommy. Can you give us an example of where you had to delegate responsibility, whether at the club level or at the district level?
I'm not sure I can come up with well, I think one of the best examples of delegation is leaders sometimes think that leading is doing it all. And delegation could be just the president at the meeting going, would somebody be willing to take this on? If it's a different thing. Any officer can do that throughout the club, which also builds up the leadership in the club. But I think the key step is, again, remembering leaders don't have to do it all. Delegation is part of leadership. Does that help?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's great. I like how you emphasize delegation is part of leadership, right? So again, as club officers, it's important not only to delegate amongst the officers, but also find opportunities to delegate and share responsibility throughout the club. Okay. In fact, a great example is the club, the execution of the club meeting, right? Where we literally delegate roles for the effective execution of the meeting. So the idea is the practice is already there. It's just a matter sometimes of taking it from a club meeting, taking the role from the task is no longer the execution of the club meeting. Maybe it's executing a membership campaign or speechcraft type activity or moments of truth type activity. Right, so there's lots of opportunities to delegate responsibility, not just within the executive team, but also throughout the club. All right. 4 steps for successful coaching. And I think I have at least one professional coach on the line. So I'm going to be picking on my professional coach here in a minute, kind of a heads up, right? Identify and define goals. Again, very basic. And I love this about Toastmasters. They make things very simple, right? These steps are so clear. Identify and define goals, define strategies to reach the goals, establish a timeline and milestones, and follow up on goals, right? So basically 4 steps to successfully coaching. Now, I think let's kind of take these one by one. The first one, identify and define goals. One good way when we think about identifying and define goals is to really reflect on your prior year, right? So for example, if the prior executive team had a list of goals, you can literally start there to create your new goals, right? Did they focus on fundraising? Did they focus on membership growth? Did they focus on club member education, right? There are a number of things that they could have focused on. And sometimes you want to build on those goals so you can reach higher than they did, right? In fact, sometimes they start with the execution of a plan and they never finish. So it's a great opportunity for you to reflect on where they left off and see if you can pick up and go from there. Defining strategies to reach the goal. This is really where you really have to dive into the experiences, not just of the past members, but also the experiences of the team members, your executive team, to kind of identify opportunities, identify ideas that can help reach the goal. I'll say one of the things that we practice at Boeing is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we recognize the value that diversity brings, because diverse people lead to diverse thoughts, lead to diverse experiences, lead to diverse ideas. And when you put it all together, you start to get a great synergy that can provide great strategies for reaching goals. Okay, so I'm gonna pick on June since you dropped it in the chat. So June, can you go ahead and share your example? You're talking about Baxter's MOT.
I see you, Joe. Thanks for calling on me. So yes, last year there was a push to do a Moments of Truth. And so our club decided to take that on. We invited Baxter, and he had amazing feedback that we detailed and incorporated into our club success plan. So when I took over as president, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel because of all the amazing feedback that we had brainstormed and that we had solicited from Baxter. And so I just took that, made sure that my club officers bought into it, so to speak, and we've just been operating off of it since then. And every month when we meet, we look at the club success plan, and we also assess how many more milestones we have to go to get to the end point, which is something you had mentioned. Begin with the end in mind. So I'm happy to say that we're tracking to the best of our abilities.
Awesome. Thanks, June. And June, I'm going to pick on you one more time. So
Yeah.
You talked about following up on goals, because you said that you guys meet review the goals on a regular basis to kind of track progress. Can you kind of say a little bit more about that?
I empower all of the officers to really own their program, so to speak. So for I'll go with our BPM. Our numbers are not as great as they might have been pre-pandemic under understandable circumstances. And so I let my BPM know that they can run with their program. They can send out holiday cards, which is something we're working on. They can do special touch points, and I let them know that these initiatives are within their purview. And every meeting I circle back to them and I ask, so how are we? Where are we with it? What kind of support do you need from me or from the other officers? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? I don't hit them all with those questions, rapid fire, but ultimately that's what I'm trying to drive at. What has happened, what's going to happen, and what they need to get to where they want to be.
Awesome. I like that. And one thing you said that really stood out for me too is you talked a little bit about expectations and kind of making sure you guys are always on the same page. And that goes back to one of the things we said earlier, which is making sure that there are clear expectations, right, among the officers of the club. So that's great. Thanks for that, June. Okay. And guys, as folks, as we go through, if you have good examples, definitely drop them in the chat, and we'll review them and share with other members on the call. Okay. Coaching role play. Okay. So I am. Okay. This one's new to me. Are we playing a role here? What is this? Did Tina drop off? Okay, let's have it. Okay. So we're supposed to play a role here, but I guess.
Joseph, this might be a great point for a breakout room. People can kind of discuss this role playing. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm okay with that if the folks on the call are okay with it.
Okay, Tommy, you're on the spot. Can you do like a 4-person-ish breakout room random on the fly?
In the process.
All right, so everybody take notes about this role play and you can discuss it in your breakout room.
Yeah, take a snapshot of this and just make sure you have it when you get assigned to the breakout room. So we'll make you really quick, I guess 5 minutes.
Hey, give me just a second here. Okay, there we go. This will assign almost everyone to a breakout room. That includes you, Joe. Okay.
Okay, thanks,
I will
Tommy.
open the rooms. You should see a message come up that will say join, but everybody has a room and this is automatic. Here we go. You should have a message inviting you to join if it doesn't automatically send you there. If you're having any difficulties joining a room, please speak up.
It looks like we have Min and Sunita. Okay, so Sunita's in a room. Min is in a room.
Everyone's
Okay,
there.
Okay, it's good enough. All right. Well, thanks guys for for helping me get through this. Okay. Oh, wow. Bob, are you still there? You look like you're on mute. Bob, you're on mute. I'm not sure.
Joe, I had no doubt. Okay.
I don't see
Yeah.
myself.
You've done too many speeches, 5 to 10 minutes on the spot, so we know you can do it.
Yeah, I wanted to make it even better. So, but it's okay. It's okay. We'll get through it. I think we're doing a good job so far.
Yeah, roll with the punches.
Yeah.
I think
Next up, we'll talk about.
well, I probably should have caught it on the dry run because you were talking a bit about presidents. I should have double checked them, like, well, we are doing leading the club to success, so I dropped the ball part on that.
It's okay.
Right.
It's fine.
We are Toastmasters. We are flexible.
Right. Plus, you know, this is an environment where it's safe to fail.
Yes.
You gotta learn from it.
It's also safe to experiment and learn.
True.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, on the delegation, I've heard it said that you delegate the authority, but
Mhm.
you don't delegate the responsibility because you ultimately hold it.
Mm.
You can delegate somebody, but ultimately it comes back to you're the person that has to, you know, follow through. But it's one of my key leadership
Bob, can you watch
principles.
this? I'll be right back.
Yep. Just got to check on the game.
The game.
The game. He has the game on in another TV in the room. Oh, 13-10
hello.
Cowboys. Yeah.
What's Seahawks playing the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mid third quarter.
Hmm. It's a rough season for the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
It started out so promising, and then Russell goes out with injury for 3 weeks. It just goes
And the
downhill
offensive
after.
line is still not.
It still
doing well.
surprises me that after so many years that Seahawks couldn't put a good offensive line in front of him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's why Tom Brady's as good as he is, because he's always had a good offensive line. I mean, this guy doesn't get sacked.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, and too much expectation of, oh, well, it's a slow start, but we'll pick it. We'll come through in the second half. And it's like, yeah, no. It's not happening.
Yeah, that's how it goes. We'll just have to look towards next season.
Yeah.
I guess this will be more of a learning season. You know, we'll see how Adrian Peterson does.
Yeah.
See how he works out, and then we'll see if they can make some good moves in the off season. Well, it looks like they might get a good draft pick, given that their record is so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I think only the Lions are worse.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
well, the backup quarterback he's did good, you know, the 3 games that he was in. So
I don't think he won any game. That's the problem.
well,
I don't think he won anything. You know, he would hope that your backup could help you win at least one game.
yeah.
But
Guys, we didn't
some-
set a time
yeah.
limit on this.
Oh, I said 5 minutes. You didn't. I thought you put 5 minutes on them. Has it been 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think so.
I need to give them a warning.
Give him 1 minute. Give him 1
Okay.
minute, and there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully I had good conversations.
Did your grandchild arrive? Your new grandchild arrive, Tom?
How about the second one? We've had 2 this month.
You got 2. Okay. Well, congrats. Wait, you've already had 2?
Yeah, each daughter had 1.
Oh wow! Well, congratulations.
One grandchild is 3 days old and one is just over 2 weeks old.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been a busy week. It's been a busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, we have another, oh, let's see, great grandchild coming in, great grandnephew coming in January, found that out at Thanksgiving.
Okay, well, that's a great Thanksgiving surprise.
And if you're
Yeah.
keeping count, sorry, if you're keeping count for me, that was for grandchildren, that was number 6 and number 7.
Yeah.
Wow, you have that many, huh? 6 and 7 grandkids.
Yes.
What's the oldest grandkid?
The babies are 12 and a half or 12.
Oh,
So it's been 12 years since we've had an infant in this family.
oh wow. Wow, 12 years, wow. So the oldest grandchild is what?
19.
Oh, okay. You're a couple of years away from great grandfather.
I hope not. That'll be a major oops.
Oh yeah, that's like
Hey, you
one
know,
of my-
25 is not that far away, you know.
well, we had my nephew, his daughter had, we went to a graduation party, found out she was expecting. He said,
Oh.
"Oh, I thought I told you." No. And she's got 3 now, and then her sister, we figured she'd learn. No, she's got a little one now.
Okay, I just sent everyone a message to please rejoin the main room.
Awesome. Okay. All
They're
right.
coming back.
There we go. Everybody's coming back. We got Sonia. We got Jennifer.
Sorry about that time, Joe. I was working fast.
Oh, that's
They
okay.
did good on the fly.
We still have time, so we still have
Yeah.
get 20 minutes to go. We're almost gonna finish up. Like everybody, you might have to just end those breakout rooms. Where's everybody? Only 2 people came back.
Oh, we got
Everyone's back, Joe.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
21 back.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I
Well,
have
they're
that too.
coming.
Okay. All right. There we go. That's good. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Let's see. How did you guys like the role play? Drop some answers in the chat. What did you like about the role play?
Actually, we didn't in our room. We just talked it over. The role is relatively simple. The gentleman needs some help. But what one of our people came up with was the idea, let the sergeant of arms tell us what he needs. And then provide it.
Okay.
For one thing,
Okay.
he has no
Right.
training or help. So let him tell us what he needs, provide it, and then give him a few weeks and see how it comes. Accountability.
Okay. Yeah, that's one approach. So Linda, you dropped yours in the chat. Can you kind of add more to that?
So I think we came back a little late. Joe, are we supposed to be dropping into the chat what our team came up with?
Yep.
Yes.
That's exactly what I.
Okay, so the people that I was in the group with, Stephen and Betty and Sunita, if you could, maybe one of you drop something in the chat.
So okay, so I'm gonna pick on one more person to kind of talk up. Thanks, Wayne, for sharing. James, you dropped something in the chat. Can you kind of elaborate on your experience? Kind of talk about that?
Unmute. All right, there I am. Okay, so yeah, I played Lewis in this thing, and I was a new sergeant at arms, and I was a little bit flustered because at the moment, I'm having a lot of responsibilities. I'm going to be late to the meeting for a while, and we came up with a good solution. We'd have some of the other members help out and lend a hand for a while until I was able to resume my duties on a more regular basis. Otherwise, I was afraid I would have to resign, but they helped
Oh,
me
wow.
out.
Okay.
It was pretty
Well,
dire.
I'm glad they helped you, Louis. I'm glad they helped you. You said it sounded it felt familiar. You said you were in a similar scenario?
Yeah, what was my role? I was vice president of public relations, and our president actually was a person who was considering resigning. He just felt so overwhelmed with family and all these he didn't think he was doing a good job either. And so it was a matter of letting him know that he was doing a good job, giving him a little bit of moral support, and also reminding him that whenever he needed a hand or advice, that we were a very well-established club and there'd always be somebody to help provide him with the answers.
Awesome. All right, I see some great answers coming in.
Joe, there's a
Thanks for-
good comment that was put in by Raina that highlighted not highlighting the problem. Everybody knows the problem, but come up with tools and options.
Okay, so Raina, you want to kind of share that out loud?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I mentioned during our breakout room that before I was even in Toastmasters and just a part of the regular workforce, I was taught the lesson of when having a problem to, instead of come to someone with the problem, come to them with a solution for the problem or options. And Lewis's team members should come to him with solutions to the problem. We all know what it is, and he is struggling. Obviously, he's not in the best situation. His first 3 weeks are going pretty rough. So the fellow officers of the club could come to him and say, "Hey, Lewis, we see that things are starting a little late. Would you like one of our members to volunteer to come in with you and help you out? I suggest do you feel overwhelmed? Maybe you should come in half an hour early if you're struggling with coming in only 15 minutes early, or lay out some scenarios and options that might be of aid to Lewis, as opposed to saying we are all having a problem with the timeliness of this meeting.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Raina. So I think going back to both Raina's example, well, all the examples that I think that came in from this role play really touched on the things that we talked about earlier, which is delegation, asking for help, kind of pulling on support from previous members or previous people who served in that role. I like what James said in the real example that happened for his club, where the president needed help and they kind of stepped in, gave him motivation, encouraged him to keep going. So that was good. Thanks, you guys. I'm glad. Good participation. All right, now let's talk about some SMART goals. If you're not familiar with the acronym SMART, it actually means specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And we're going to dive into the details related to it. So when we say specific, so these are really the questions you ask: who, what, when, where, why. This kind of helps you, narrow down that goal to be a little bit more granular and then easier to tackle. Right. The whole idea is it's a lot more challenging to eat an elephant, right? Versus a grain of rice. That's the whole idea of being granular and specific. Measurable, right? You have to be able to measure it. Going back to one of the examples earlier, right? I forget the name, right? But we talked about consistently following up with team members and kind of measuring progress. So when we talk about measurable, we're talking about how much, how many, whatever the number is. We're talking about club members or new club members, money being raised, or club members completing their pathways. Right, so those are some examples of things that you can measure when we talk about club progress. Attainable, and I think this is one of the bigger ones, which is whatever goals you set have to be attainable, right? So do we have the skills and abilities to achieve it? Do we have the financial resources to achieve it? Do we have the time necessary to achieve it? So in fact, time is one of the items we talk about in SMART, we're specific. And then, do we have the right attitude? This goes back to, are we motivated? Is this the goal that we get excited about? Is this something that we really want to do? And that's the attitude. Realistic. How willing are we? How able are we? Right? Do we have the bandwidth? Do we have the time? Do we have, going back to resources? Right? Is our current condition good enough to help us get there? Or what similar things have been accomplished? Meaning, and that's a great way to sell a vision as well. If we've done something just as challenging before, then it becomes easier to achieve in the minds of your officers as well as your club members. And the last item is timely. What is the deadline? When must each step be accomplished? One of the things with goals, you always have to follow up. So you really have to measure, and that's why measuring is part of it, because you have to consistently look at where you are and how far away you are from the target or the next milestone, so you can consistently adjust. And a great example that's shared is when we were going, when we talked about the trip to the moon, we were off course 99% of the time, right? So it was a consistent adjustment, measuring where you are and adjusting to get back on track, measuring where you are and adjusting to get back on track until you eventually get to your goal. When we talk about SMART, that's what we mean, those specific items that we talked about. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Any questions about SMART goals?
Joe, if I could, one comment from past coaching clubs is don't make your SMART goal too big. So many times we try to make it like this big. It's like, we want club success. Well, what does that mean? And if they follow the clubs, each club follows the club success plan, then each part of it or each section of club growth can be a different SMART goal. But don't make it so big that you can't actually do the rest of the SMART goal plan.
That's a good point, Tommy. That's a good point. Yep. And I think that goes back to literally with the specific part of it, really narrowing it down. And to Tommy's point, if you narrow it down and it's still too big, then maybe you have to look into breaking it up into smaller chunks. Okay. All right, so club success plan. And really for this, we're going to talk more so about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, so SWOT analysis. We are nearing the end of our training, so we'll kind of dive into this a little. Okay. So on the idea of goals, Sonia shared Goldilocks goals, not too big, not too small. Okay, I like that analogy. Oh yeah, strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. What do we mean when we say this? Well, this is kind of a lot to take in at one time. So let's just start with strength, right? So when we think about our success plan, a well-developed club success plan and budget, right, as well as club officers who have properly set expectations about duties. So those are the strengths of your success plan. Where you have a well-developed plan, you have a budget that helps you kind of limit how much you're going to spend, as well as you have officers who are clear on their expectations or clear on what's expected of them. The weaknesses, no presence of social networks, club website has not been updated and CL manual not being used. So these are some examples of some weaknesses that we've seen in the past. Right? We no longer have a CL manual. It's all on Pathways now. Right? Yeah, I know one example of a club website that it hasn't been updated since, I think it was like 2012 or 2013. And we kind of stumbled onto it. So, you do have situations like that out there. No presence on social network. Yep, I know by Port Garnet McGarrers, before Tommy took over some of our social networking, we really didn't have a good presence on there. And Lon, our president, is also pushing for that as well. Okay, opportunities. These are the cool things, the things that really set you apart. And I'll throw on here membership campaign. So speech contests, those are great ways not only to get your club members excited, those are great ways to bring in people from the outside, guests, and get them to see how wonderful your club members are through speech contests, especially humorous speech contests. Membership building, the second bullet literally touched on it, membership building contest. Speechcraft, I don't know, Speechcraft may be a little bit different now without the manuals, in Pathways, but Speechcraft was a great way to bring in people and get them to experience the Toastmasters way, and then get them excited about becoming Toastmasters so they could kind of continue their communication and leadership growth. And then we have the Successful Club series. So again, these are opportunities. These are some opportunities. I would definitely encourage you to reach out to your area director, your past club officers for other opportunities that you can take advantage of within your Toastmasters Club. Last one, threats. The threats, I guess, that's the big stuff. That's some of the things that you definitely need to go after as well. Low attendance, right? This kind of brings down the morale of your club. I'm in one club right now that we are struggling with attendance and membership, and we're fighting for new ways to bring it up. Members not properly prepared for speeches. Right? That's a commitment thing. And VP of Education, VP of Membership, club mentors, those are some of the people we have to turn to help us encourage and motivate our members to properly prepare for speeches. The dues not paid on time, that's always a challenge when it comes to dues periods. Different clubs have tried different strategies where, for example, some clubs say, okay, let's just pay 1 year ahead, and that way they don't have to deal with dues challenges every 6 months. Members not engaged during meetings. I haven't seen that one personally, because most of my clubs, we've always been very engaged, but I know there are clubs out there who struggle with this. You kind of have to lead by example, right? That's one way, at least lead, model the picture. You are engaged, so you and your officers are engaged, and your general body members will follow suit as well. I'll open it up for one comment. Any comments? Anyone just want to add anything onto opportunities or strengths? Just kind of talk about what are some areas of opportunities and strengths for your clubs.
This is Gianna from Winging It, and one of our strengths is at the end of each meeting, we meet weekly. We fill out the agenda for the next week, so everybody knows ahead of time what they're doing.
Oh, I like that. Thanks for that, Jana. Any other strengths or opportunities?
Joe, there's a small clue in how that slide is built, with strengths and opportunities at the top, weaknesses and threats at the bottom. It's always very simple to go just for the problem. But what are you good at? What are you doing right? What can you capitalize on? So start out with the strengths and the opportunities first, then go to the weaknesses and the threats.
Well said. Okay, wow, I like that. Thanks for that, Tommy. Okay, I think we can take one more strengths, opportunities comment before we switch. Oh, I'm at time. Okay, I'm at time. Okay, but we can't take one more. All right, so finishing up.
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Betty.
What are the various ways that you use to draw members in? Because that's a huge thing in our club. Not being able to engage people. You know, we've tried various things. So what are all the variety of things you do?
That might be a
That's
great
good.
thing for people to drop into the chat to give
Right,
everybody
right.
kind of an idea. So if you have some ideas on that, drop it into the chat, and everybody can take it away.
Right. So let me repeat the question then. So Betty asked the question, what are some ways that you build membership, basically? Hi, Betty. Or recruit members to your club. So what are some ways that we do that? What are some different strategies? So drop your answers in the chat. Thank you, Betty. All right, action plan. So coming in for a close here, I think we only have one more slide. Okay, good. So what actions, so coming out of this today, just kind of think about what actions need to be taken. I think Betty gave a great one towards the end. Right? What are some different ways we can build membership? What resources are available? And I'll just say one resource is everybody on this call tonight, right? Those are some of your immediate resources that you actually have names for. Who is responsible? So as you're thinking about these different actions to be taken by your group, think about responsibility and when must the action be taken. Again, this is more of a timing thing. You know, what depending on what the action is, when does it make the most sense to start taking action on it? Yeah. With that, thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to lead you through leading the club to success training tonight. Thank you guys for joining the call tonight. And I turn it back over to our host, or one of our hosts, Bob.
Thank you, Joe. Great presentation, good adjustments midstream from president to leading the club. You did a great job. In a couple of minutes, the survey link will be dropped into the chat by my co-host, Tommy. But before that, I would like you to give us the feedback on the training. But before that, Tina will come and present district news for us. So, Tina,
Thank you,
the floor is
Bob.
yours.
Let's give Joe another big round of applause. Use your reaction button. Let's give him some love. He did a great job. Thank you so much. And I have just a couple of announcements. The first one is about club officer training. And I'm going to drop the, oops. I'm going to drop this into the chat so that you have it. To get it on everybody here. Please share this with all of your club officers and everybody else so that everybody knows when the trainings are happening. There we go. And I'm also going to share my screen. So these are the upcoming trainings for the year. You may know by now that you do not have to attend one of the role-specific trainings to get credit for your Super 7. We want everyone to get Super 7 this round because you get some money for that. But you can attend any one, your officers can attend any one of these events and get credit towards Super 7. If they need to watch one of the role-specific trainings, they can do so on our District 2 YouTube channel. We are posting all of the trainings there so people can go and watch them, but they do have to attend a training in person to receive credit. The other thing that I would like to remind you is that contest season is going to be upon us before we know it. And the club level contests are in February. So start thinking about that. Start talking to your members who's going to compete this year. It's virtually, so we can get competitors from all over the world like we did last year, which is super exciting. Start talking to your members about that. The area level is in April, and the in March. Division level is in April, and then the district level is in May. So start thinking about contests. The other thing I'd like to announce is the district-run Moments of Truth. That was brought up a little bit earlier. If your club would like to do a Moments of Truth, and this is district-led, so you have to email us at the trio to say that you want to do a district-led Moments of Truth, you will get $100 in District $2. So that can go towards Zoom purchases or, Facebook posts, different things for your club. And it's a really great way to get, it's a really great way to get your club involved. Linda, are you here? Do you have any announcements for the group?
I'm here. I was eating before, so I had my camera off, but I'm fully here now. Thanks, Tina. Our announcement right now is we need club coaches, and there's a very special opportunity that Toastmasters International has given. If you were to sign up to be a club coach before December 31st, that would give you the required 6 months to complete the club coach opportunity before June 30. And then the special opportunity is that you get district leader credit, and you can compete in contests, which normally a district leader never can compete in a contest. So if you've been holding back being a club coach because you weren't going to get district leader and be in a contest, this is your opportunity. However, I will tell you, they have a very high bar. I will say it is a challenge, but not impossible, to get the club to 20 members and distinguished by June 30 to get the district credit. And again, the club had to have requested a coach, and they must have 12 members or less. So you're stretching them from at least 12 or less all the way up to 20. But let me know if you're interested. We have a training on December 13th. It's a great opportunity to sign up then. And I do want to call out that the survey is not working, so someone needs to address that. Thanks, Tina.
I think we are working on this survey. So what we're going to do is we're going to email that survey out to you. Please, please, please. I know that you get a survey in the email and you delete it and you say, I don't want to do a survey. Please, please, please do the survey. Give us some feedback. Let us know how you enjoyed this training. Look for that in your email. Bob, back to you.
And the fun of Zoom is unmuting. Muting when you're not, and unmuting. Well, we are glad that all of you came out tonight, and you got credit for your club on that. Another thing you can do, let people know on the recordings and share those things with your club. Take something from this and share it with your club. The more we interact, the more personal give it, that will spread. And as has been said before, be an example of enthusiasm for the club. Thank you for coming out, and look for the survey coming in your email shortly. I don't know what happened with it, but technology. Thank you all for coming, and have a great